My name is Sarah Connor. August 29, 1997. It was supposed to be Judgment Day. But I changed the future. Saved 3 billion lives. Enough of a resume for you?
No. You may have changed the future, but you didn't change our fate.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Film Optix podcast. Today, we're going to be reviewing Terminator Dark Fate. My name is Christian, and I'm always joined here by Devin. How are you doing today, buddy, on this fine Saturday afternoon, morning, I guess, technically?
Doing pretty good. It stopped snowing, so that's always good.
Oh, it's snowing up there?
It snowed like all night before Halloween. So I don't know how
I wish
anyone
it was
went trick-or-treating.
I wish it was snowing here. I'm not gonna lie, man. It gets kind of lonesome. I think the closest I've gotten is like a little bit of frost on my car, and that's about it. That was like the first time I actually had to warm up my car in a while since, moving from back home. But yeah, anyway, everyone, as I said before, this is the Film Optix podcast / review, whatever you want to call it. We're going to be reviewing Terminator Dark Fate today. And I'll just read the synopsis really quick here. Sarah Connor, a hybrid cyborg human, must protect a young girl from a newly modified liquid Terminator from the future. Directed by Tim Miller. And writers include James Cameron and Charles H. Iggy? Kevin Feige? No, I'm kidding.
You wish.
Right, yeah. And some of the stars is Linda Hamilton, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Mackenzie Davis, just to name a few there. But excuse me. I guess we'll just start right into it. Devin, what were your initial thoughts about the trailer? Like, what did you think about the movie? Well, I guess we'll just go into non-spoilery section first, and then if we want to get into spoilers, we can.
So which other Terminators have you seen?
I haven't seen a single Terminator movie.
Well, that must make this one pretty interesting for you.
It was very interesting. I mean, like, I know the premise, don't get me wrong. I mean, I've seen bits and pieces of Genesis when that came out because my girl Emilia Clarke is in it, obviously. But other than that, no, I haven't really sat down and watched any Terminator movies. I do know that this is a direct sequel to Terminator 2, but that's about it.
So yeah, I wasn't really that excited because the initial trailers really didn't do anything for me. I thought
I agree.
the effects in the trailers looked pretty rough for this day and age.
Yeah,
and it definitely looked a little better in the actual movie.
Yeah, it did look a little better. Obviously, I mean, it was. I mean, there's a lot of CGI today. Sometimes you can't really tell when it's there. I mean, when you know it's there, it's there. But with some of the CGI in this movie, it was very noticeable. And yeah, I didn't really. I mean, I kind of liked it. Like, it was cool. But I mean, does this really prompt me to go see the other Terminator movies? No, not at all. Arnold Schwarzenegger's back in it again, and you get Sarah Connor. It was all right. It was. I mean, within after like the first 10 minutes of the movie, like crap just like hits the fan in general, and so it's like, oh, okay, it's kind of a turn your brain off kind of movie.
That's actually like a big talking point if you want to get into spoilers. That first like 10 minutes.
Yeah, we can just get into spoilers, honestly. So, spoiler warning for anyone who hasn't seen Terminator Dark Fate. If you haven't, go see the movie and come back and listen to the rest of the pod.
So yeah, that first part where the son gets killed by Arnold with a shotgun, it's definitely pretty divisive as far as how the Terminator fans are viewing that. Because the whole plot to Terminator 2 was protecting that kid in order for the future to be saved. So people think that by them killing him off in this movie, they kind of just like canceled all of Terminator 2, made it like worthless and meaningless because like they're trying to save him that whole movie, and then this movie they just kill him off. So it kind of feels like cheap. But
Okay, I see. Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. Because I mean, obviously, during the beginning of the movie, I'm assuming de-aging technology. Obviously, in
yeah,
general, I was like, okay, I mean, Schwarzenegger looks really good. Sarah Connor, I mean, you can kind of tell it's there, but yeah, I was kind of confused by that. I was like, oh, like she had a son, and I know the plot of Terminator 1, with she's pregnant with her son, and Terminator's here to kill her, or because of her son. And then because since it was Skynet in the
yeah,
original, yeah, that's what. Yeah, so I think the movie did a really good job of explaining what happened in the alternate future, or in the alternate past, I should say. Because I mean, yeah, that does kind of suck. Where it's like, we have this entire movie, Terminator 2, and then Dark Fate's supposed to be a direct sequel to that, and then it's like, oh, her child dies anyway, and then
yeah.
yeah,
Despite everyone's best efforts. And a
yeah,
lot of people think Terminator 2 is like the best action movie of all time. So to mess with that's kind of like touchy.
yeah. I mean, I was watching a few interviews with James Cameron, and he was kind of saying, because like I knew Terminator, yeah, like I knew what the Terminator was, but I didn't know how hard it was to kill a Terminator.
Yeah.
And that makes more sense, as they made that reference in Zombieland Double Tap in general, because they're extremely hard to kill. But like, this guy just wouldn't stop. I was like, all right, this is I'm starting to get the premise of it, why Terminators are so dangerous. But obviously, how many other Terminator movies are there besides this one? I know there's
There's three that are numbered, and then
Right.
there's
Genesis.
Salvation and Genesis.
Oh, the Salvation.
Salvation
and
was
Genesis.
was famous for having Christian Bale like freak out on set.
Oh, really?
Actually, pretty funny video.
Oh man, I'll have to check that out for sure. But so what did you think of like the new characters? Since I'm assuming you've seen a few of the other Terminator movies.
Yeah, I've seen. I think I've seen all, but I didn't really like the new Terminator. He just kind of looked bland. Like nothing wrong with the performance or anything, but
Yeah.
as far as like a bad guy Terminator, you expect someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's like this big badass guy, and then you get this kind of average looking guy with a plaid shirt on.
Yeah. Well,
not very intimidating,
right? Because that's this new Terminator could like essentially split itself. It has its exoskeleton or its skin or whatever that goo micro whatever it was, and then the Terminator was underneath. So it's like, okay, I do think it made more of a threat when there was two of them in general with equal strength.
Yeah, they always look kind of scary when it's just like the skeleton part.
Yeah, man.
So I like those parts.
Yeah, it's like they're staring into your soul. It's kind of like how Darth Vader, even though you can't really see his face, it's just like they're just staring at you, and you're like,
yeah,
that's actually really creepy. But yeah. So with the new characters and with the new characters, I was thinking I liked Mackenzie Davis's character.
Yeah, she was pretty good. She was
yeah.
like surprisingly tall. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, she's really tall. I was like, holy
she
crap.
made the other main character look really short.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Danny, I think her name was.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was like super, super short. I was like, holy crap, that's insane. But I kind of like how they, connected the two, where it's like, oh, Mackenzie Davis's character, I'm like blanking on her character's name right now.
Grace.
She was sent back to the past to save the woman who initially saved her. And I guess, she's human, but she's enhanced, which is kind of interesting. I wish they would have delved into that a little bit more, because I'm assuming Sarah Connor's not like a hybrid cyborg human.
No,
right?
she's human.
She's just human. Okay, that's what I thought. So sorry for everyone. I haven't really thought about watching Terminator. It's not that it didn't interest me. It's just, I don't know. It's just one of those movies in general that I haven't watched. So But anything else? The guys, so we can get into like what did you like about the movie, or do you have like more pros and cons?
So the character Danny was like kind of supposed to be the main character in the movie, but she kind of felt like a side character to me. Because like everyone else kind of took the front seat and was like driving the movie, and then she was just kind of in the back hanging out.
Especially when Arnold came in, honestly, I was like, okay, you know, she's supposed to be the main character, and you know, she wants to be used as bait, but then you know, Grace doesn't want to use her as bait, and you can kind of understand why. And then you know they go see Arnold. I was like, wait a minute, I'm like, isn't Arnold like a Terminator? And then I was like, okay, well, fair enough. I haven't seen the other movies, so clearly I had like I wasn't super lost, but then like by the end of the movie, I was very like, okay, I think I understand how this universe works. It was kind of like how X-Men with Days of Future Past, but you know she, you know, Sarah changed the future, and you know kind of the same thing that happens in X-Men Days of Future Past, but then yeah, so it was just a random robot Terminator is just assigned to kill a certain person. I did think the interesting part when you know, after Arnold Schwarzenegger's character killed Sarah's son, he kind of like became humbled in a way, and he kind of like started developing his own conscience. What did you think about that?
I thought that was pretty weird. Like he became like this goofy family man with the dumbest name possible.
What was
his
name again?
I couldn't get over it. His name's Carl. Like this big badass Terminator. His name is Carl. Like I get it's kind of funny, but like at the same time, that's just silly. Like
it was like Jimmy
Carl,
Neutron's
really?
Carl. Carl. Llama, 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 llama. Yeah, that is a pretty random name. I don't know too many people named Carl. Actually, I don't think I know anyone named Carl. I know Carlos.
It kind of takes away from like that Terminator, because like in the first two movies, he's obviously this big badass just walking around killing everyone, but now he's some family guy named Carl, just doing chores around the house.
It kind of reminds me of I'm not sure if you played any of the God of War games, but with the previous God of War games that came out before the PS4 sequel, you know, Kratos is he's you know he's this big badass. You know, he's killing everyone. He becomes God of War, kills Ares, becomes the God of War. All this other stuff happens, and then in the PS4 version, well, it's actually a continuation of the story, so it's not like a reboot or anything. He's like super humble, like has a kid, and like he's like bearing his wife, and he's just very, very docile. So I thought that was kind of a interesting correlation. At first I was like, oh, okay, but then again, I've never seen any of the other Terminator movies, so I was like, all right, well, do you think that, I guess, he did justice to his character with the way he redeemed himself at the end?
I mean, if you didn't see that coming, like even for someone like you who's never seen any of the Terminator movies, it's so easy to see that coming.
This movie was super predictable. Like it was insanely predictable, man. It was wow.
Definitely paint by numbers.
Yeah, and you know, and I heard good things about it in general, and you know, overall, and I was like, okay, you know, I'll go see it. And I was like, okay, do I go see Mother's Brooklyn? Because I missed my early screening to see Harriet. I was so mad. Seriously, I got the days mixed up. I was like, oh, whatever. I'm like, I'll just go see Terminator because I got to figure we were going to review it here on the pod. So, but there's that. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on?
The ending, I feel like the way it worked out, I feel like the stakes weren't very high in actuality, because the way they set it up was like Grace was supposed to sacrifice herself, and that was supposed to be some kind of sad moment for Danny. But if you think about it, Grace is coming from a future where everything's messed up. So if she dies in order to save the future, it doesn't really matter because her past self is still alive. So she would still...
You're throwing some Avengers Endgame time travel in there.
because they showed the younger version of her still alive and well. So like...
Yeah, and
it doesn't really matter if future her dies because she's still alive in the present.
Yeah. When I was watching a few interviews with James Cameron, I mean, I guess you could say he was implementing that there could definitely be more, because it just seems that it's just this never-ending cycle, especially the way he was explaining the other movies, and just getting me trying to understand more about the this universe. So I was like, okay, so technically it could have, I mean, obviously it could keep happening again and again and again. There isn't like a final end all be all, which is kind of weird, but I mean, I guess it's a cool moneymaker.
Yeah, they didn't really add anything new to the story as far as like why things happened. Like they kind of just changed the name from Skynet to Legion. They didn't really explain what went wrong. They just kind of said, "Oh, AI started killing people." That's it. Same thing as before.
Yeah. And I mean, R.I.P. to Danny's father and son. I was like, oh,
Yeah, or the brother.
yeah, the brother. I
That
actually
part
kind of liked him.
it was kind of sad, but they did get it out of the way right away, so it kind of didn't have
Yeah,
that much
they're like,
build-up.
hey, would you need to mourn about your, brother and your father later? And then it kind of never really came to be where, like obviously, when they're like, I felt like they were in real danger the entire time, which was good. But when they go to meet her uncle at the border patrol, they kind of just like grace over. I'm like, oh, is she gonna like tell her uncle? Well, she kind of just mentions it in passing, and then it seems like she was more sad about Grace dying than her own family.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like I said before, it didn't really have that many stakes, I don't believe. But
yeah. Or maybe, when she had that breakdown at the end, it was just kind of everything coming out at once. But I guess that's just left up to her interpretation.
I also don't like them keeping like the part that she's the one that they need to protect, not her son. Like that was obvious. Like as soon as they mentioned that, I was like, okay, it's gonna be her.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, so I'm like, oh, so this is just kind of like a rehash of Terminator 2 or Terminator 1, where she, this lady's pregnant. But then it's like, oh, okay, it's her who starts it. It's like,
it's just different enough for them to make it a plot point.
It's like, if we move it down 2 inches,
yes,
we have something new. It's crazy.
Did you notice our boy Tom Hopper in the movie, like in the futuristic scenes?
No,
from
I did
Umbrella
not.
Academy.
I did not. No, oh my gosh, I did not notice that at all.
I think he's number 1 in Umbrella Academy. Look.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, okay, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I was like, oh, like, and I saw him too, and it didn't even click.
Yeah, he was the army general guy.
Yeah, he also plays Dick Tarly in Game of Thrones for a little bit before he gets roasted alive by Drogon, Daenerys' dragon. So he's making a name for himself for sure. See him in a few other things as well. Did you want to anything else you wanted to touch on it before we wrap up?
I thought it definitely like slowed down a lot at certain parts. Like in between fights, it just like dragged. Like nothing was really happening between the fights.
Yeah, it was kind of the same thing over and over. And obviously, it's like, are they just supposed to run for the rest of their lives while this, Terminator just tracks them down? And like the jokes didn't really land either, to be completely honest. Like it was kind of
I didn't laugh out loud at anything. Like I think the funniest part was when Arnold was talking. He was like, "I'm a really funny guy." I thought that was pretty good.
He's like, that's the only one I can tell jokes. Yeah. I definitely feel like this movie was for a older audience.
I had a lot of boomers in my theater, and they were laughing at every joke. So
yeah, same here, man. Same here. Absolutely. I was just sitting there. I was like, are these people all right? Like, I mean, I know it was kind of funny, but I guess so. Who was your favorite character? Like, who really stood out to you?
That's the thing. No one really stood out. I guess I'll go with Grace. She kind of stole the show for the most part.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I mean, like, I understand she became an enhanced human. I was like, okay, like, what is this process? How is it done? What does it mean? And they kind of just like grace over it because, she almost dies and like in her future. And she's pretty much just like, I volunteer as tribute kind of thing too. Yeah. I was like, oh, then she's the lady's like, this is going to hurt like a mother. And then just like pushes that, whatever that stuff was. And, they put her under and boom, now she's a half Terminator, a superhuman, kind of, sort of. But I did think
she looks so much like Robin Wright Penn in this movie. I don't know if you know who that is.
I have an idea of who that is. I do like how, you know, they didn't make it to where Grace's character was just like a superhuman that didn't need, like, you know, she was still human, so, you know, she needed certain medicine. You know, I like how they explained how, you know, she was designed for short bursts of action, not like, you know, a more long-term fighting machine.
It was kind of convenient how it just kind of struck at certain points, though.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. But you just want to ready to give the scores for this Terminator?
Yes.
What would you give it out of 100 Terminators? 100 Graces.
Out of T100, I'll give it a T65.
Ooh.
So it's like it's good enough, but it's like not gonna it didn't blow me away in any way.
Right.
And as far as comparing it to the other movies, I remember as a kid I really liked Terminator 3, and that's like kind of the worst one. That's kind of
all I was with Spider-Man 3 when I was a kid, yeah.
But I definitely think this one's better than Genesis and Salvation, so I'll probably rank it above those, but behind the first three.
I'll definitely have to check out in the middle. Okay. Well, since this is my first and only Terminator movie, it's sitting at my number one spot.
Hey, high praise.
Yeah, the highest of praise is like, hey, I mean, it'll be my number one if I never see another Terminator movie. Yeah, I would have to give this. I'll give it a T60.
Yeah,
just a little bit lower. I mean, it's not the worst movie that I've seen this year, not by a long shot. But it's definitely, I feel like it's more for the boomer generation. I mean, obviously,
it's kind of like Men in Black. That when that came out, I was just like, it was okay, but just didn't do anything well, really, or like fantastic.
Yeah, I swear Hollywood's just trying to bring back the 90s. It's, you know, we have Terminator, and then Charlie's Angels coming out, and they're like, oh, you remember Men in Black, and what's the other one, Bad Boys? Like, yeah, we're bringing all that stuff back, and it just isn't as good. And, you know, I just feel like back then, you know, people had stories to tell, and these are just another way of trying to make money, trying to get butts in seats.
That's why we have Parasite and Jojo Rabbit and all these other
and Marriage Story
original
and Honey
movies.
Boy. Yeah. And honestly, those are my favorite ones of the year so far. Like, I mean, my list right now is definitely Jojo. You know, not in any particular order. Jojo Rabbit, Parasite, Marriage Story, Honey Boy, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Oh, and Joker. Honestly, like those are the ones that have been really sticking out to me. And I mean, Indies right now are where it's at. So, and which is really good because Emilia Clarke had mentioned on Twitter a few days ago that she was looking more into indie roles, which I think is very, very smart because they are definitely where it's at. But all right, well, I guess we'll just wrap up here. And I actually forgot to mention during the beginning, but I'll just say it now. You can follow us on Twitter at Film Optix. Optix, it's spelled Optix. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, make sure to give us a rating. That would really help out. Kind of want to gauge to see, you know, how many people are listening, and, you know, what we need, what we could change to improve our, you know, our podcast over here on our channel / whatever you want to call it. It's kind of a hybrid because, you know, we put them on podcast version, and then I try to upload the YouTube videos as well, just to kind of cover a little bit more ground. But you can also listen to us not only on iTunes, you can listen to us on Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, and Anchor as well. And yeah, I guess we'll just talk to you guys later. I guess we'll just go see Harriet now. So thanks again, Devin, for coming on as well. We'll let everyone know what we're reviewing next after this. I've no clue. Honestly, I'm just waiting for Knives Out to come out. So, you know.
Dr. Sleep?
maybe.
Little spooky action.
Maybe. I do like.
Have you seen The Shining?
No.
It's not that scary.
I know. And we'll figure it out. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening or / watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
We might have a winner here. My cast, and they really feel like my dream team. I mean, literally every single person sitting at that table in Hall H today is on my dream team, and I don't think I've ever finished a film and felt like that about a group of people, because we just gave our guts and blood every single day and relied on each other, and it was phenomenal.